Hi there. This is the Design Your Physician Life podcast, and I'm Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez. I invite you to listen to our episode today. You won't want to miss it. We're going to be talking about building your teams. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Design Your Physician Life podcast, where you will get excited about being a physician, learn the tools that can help boost your success, and great tips from successful doctors. Join us to unlock the keys to an amazing physician life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode today. Today is a very great day. We're going to tell you about what we've been doing with our teams in our different companies through time. And I'll be answering 5 important questions that you should ask yourself when you're trying to build your teams. So I'm very, very happy about this topic because our teams are everything for us, for our company. Yes, our clients, our patients, we love them and we do our companies to serve them, but we cannot serve them without our teams. So we've been reading, and one of the questions that people ask, like, what book is great for entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship has many different areas. We in the Max Salary Mastermind, we talk about the pillars. So we have the 6 pillars of entrepreneurship. We talk about designing your vision, and then wellness, and your business, finance, and lifestyle, and all these things, So we don't only have one book. We have read authors, like we can tell you that wonderful authors who talk about building your teams and leadership are, like, for example, John C. Maxwell, Jim Collins, Simon Sinek. All these are going to be authors. And we have more. We have more books and things for you to learn about, but look them up. Not only one book will give you all the answers, but we're going to give you answers today for 5 of these questions. So we're going to start with the first question. It's like, how do you create a culture of trust within your team? Trust is so important. You need trust to help your clients, right? Your patients need to trust you. Or if actually you're somebody who's building a service or a product, people have to trust you to be able to purchase those services or those products. But those services and products don't happen without a team, because you're not going to create any of these things on your own, right? A clinic on your own, that would be a micro practice of one person. That's possible, but not for most of us. The same thing for whatever service, coaching, or through real estate, or building your product, whatever you want to bring to the market. It's going to happen because you have a team. And trust really is going to be the bedrock of any successful team. It's going to be the glue that holds us all together. And the same thing, like the lubricant that allows them to work together in unison without any problem. So creating the culture of trust obviously is going to start with that leader. You, as the physician entrepreneur, as the owner of these companies, you must behave in ways that you're going to start creating that culture of trust for them. So one of the things that are important for us with our employees, that we're open, honest, and transparent about what we're doing in our company. We really show them that we trust them, and that I'm also worthy of their trust, right? It's a two-way thing. Like, we have to tell them, I trust what you're doing, but we have to make sure that we can build that on our side. So we try to be reliable. We try to keep our promises, and we are certainly accountable for our actions in front of them. One of the things that we do is that we have regular meetings with them, and we discuss topics. And if one of the things that we try to do is really be consistent with what we're saying, right? In the care of a patient, for example, if it's a clinic or whatever it is, a service or product, you want to make sure that the message is consistent. Yes, there's going to be changes, but when that changes happen, that gets to be explained to the employees. We want them to feel safe, comfortable expressing their ideas, concerns, mistakes, whatever happens. They can do this in public. And we have regular meetings where we have team meetings, and we have also opportunities for them to come and talk to us in private. There's some books, like talking about books of that can help with the creating this culture of trust. As I mentioned some authors. There's some other authors that are really great, like Covey and Zach, Z-A-K, and Lencioni. And these books will help us with talking about, competency and how there's roadmaps that can be created for establishing trust within a team or any organization. There's going to be explanations of the neuroscience of trust there, and they can give us insight about how trust works and how we can foster it within a team organization. And we can even learn also about the fundamental causes of like organizational politics and team failure, and that when that happens, when there's not that trust, right, for our employees. So it's really important that we build that culture of trust for them. And there's specific ways of that we can do this. First, as I said, lead by example. Whatever we do is going to set the tone for the rest of the team. So if I'm very anxious about how we're going to make the next paycheck, right, and I'm showing that to them, they're going to be anxious as well. They're going to be less helpful, more distracted. If we're upset about something, we're communicating in a very nasty way because of our stresses of a startup. They're going to feel that, and they're going to feel that we're not trusting them. It might not be about them, but we want to make sure that we're really communicating. And, I've been myself the victim of that stress, right? Like I express myself in ways that I should not have. And then what happens is that employee will come back, say, oh my goodness, what's going on? And they don't have all the information. So it becomes confusing for them. So regardless of the situation where you're presenting to your employees, you should really lead by example and set the tone, right? And also, if you want them to trust you, you want to trust them. You want to show them that they can be trusted. So you can delegate them tasks. So try not to do micromanagement unless the situation really requires and there's a clear communication that that's what's happening until X happens. And show them faith in what they're doing. Your anxieties, your preoccupation can be overwhelming at times. Recognize that, step back, talk to them, and then, lead by example for them. The other things like promoting open communication. So when they're talking to you, make sure that they feel included, respected, listened, they heard, and try to avoid any misunderstanding for them, with them. And one more thing, showing vulnerability, even when you've made a mistake, that can actually increase the trust from them because, you're human, you can make mistakes too. And in the past, it might be like, this person, you should never be allowed to make a mistake. But if you do and you recognize in front of them, they might get closer to you. And if that happens, then they say, you know what, if they made a mistake, if I make a mistake, then they will be more open also to admit and then grow from the whole experience. So let's move on to our second question, which is, I'm talking about here how to do with this team and everything, but how do you identify the right people for your team, right? Getting the right people on the bus, like Jim Collins says. So how do I get the right people on the bus? Like, where do we get these people? And they can come from anywhere. You'd be surprised. We had our nanny, we call her, she was like our Mary Poppins. We found our Mary Poppins in Craigslist. And she was a very, very important part of our team. But before having our Mary Poppins, we had many frogs. She was like our princess frog. She was wonderful, but we went through many other employees for that team in our home. In our clinics, we've actually found people from, you name it, name Craigslist, recommendations, people coming through the clinic, even showing up at the door, many resumes that we've looked for. But the important thing is that at the end of the day, that you get the right people in your team. That's going to be crucial. You want people who are competent, who are capable, who share your visions and values, and who can bring not only, they don't necessarily have to think. You don't want them to think exactly like you do, right? You want them to bring like diverse perspectives and skills to the clinic, in this case, in this business, or to whatever business it is that you're doing. So that will certainly require that your recruitment process is thorough and thoughtful. You will need to clearly define the roles and responsibilities of each team member. And that starts, like, for example, if you're announcing, you have an ad on the newspaper or an ad in the computer, on whatever source you are putting those ad at, that should have really a very specific set of roles and responsibilities. And then you look for people who have skills and personality traits to fulfill those roles effectively. One thing that we ideally would like to have is experience. And I have to tell you that, for example, like in many industries, actually, they're having trouble hiring people. And sometimes we might not really find the experienced person. So then we'll have to focus on the skills and personality traits to make sure that then we can teach them, and we have then to plan to teach them, right? We must have an onboarding process, an onboarding plan for them. So identifying the right people for our team when the time is limited can be a challenging task. We don't want just to hire anybody from the street. And we might want to really understand which types of interviews we can do for these people. As I said, there's hiring for skills, for personality traits, for experience. And in our case, we have somebody who is very experienced in behavioral interviewing, and they do this process. I'm going to go through 5 steps of this behavioral interviewing. There's also assignment-based interviewing, and there's some other ways of interviewing people. And then I'll tell you, like if you look at the history of how Google or Zappos or any of those interviewed people, they have quite different stories, right? For behavioral interviewing, there's going to be 5 steps. One of them, the first one, is going to be identify the key skills and attributes needed for the role. And you're going to be, you're going to be putting those in your ad. And also when you have that person come, you're going to make sure you have them in front of you when you're interviewing them. And before they even come to you, you're going to do the step 2, which is you're going to develop behavioral interview questions that require them to provide specific examples of how they did those skills. They showed those skills or attributes in the past. And ideally, you would have those written for your interview. And then these are things that if you create, you can then pass those on. You can create it with management. Management can create it for you. Ideally, you should create them together and then just have them there for sharing with other people who are going to interview others in the future. During the interview, which is going to be the 3rd step, you're going to ask those questions and you're going to listen carefully to them. You're going to make sure that there's evidence of, what you want, the skills that you want are shown by them, and the attributes that you want are shown by their examples. If, we had recently, we had somebody who was coming to our interview and then definitely citing a lot of things that we did not want them to show. And it hasn't been, it's just this person comes to mind. And then we've had a couple of those where necessarily the experience was lacking, but also the skills were lacking. Yet on the other hand, we've had some others that was wonderful stars, great, and they're still working with us today. So make sure that they go through that set of answers, but that you're listening and watching and observing everything that's happening. The step 4 is going to ask more questions, right? You're going to go deeper and get more details about each example. So what happens in the 4th step is that you're going to be molding your interview to what they're telling you. So on the step 3, you're asking and listening. And then on the 4th step, then you're going more detail from what they're asking to really see and understand if they are telling you what you want to hear. Not guiding them, but just to making sure that you're getting the right person on the bus for you. And the 5th step is that after you've interviewed, you're going to evaluate them on how well they did, in the interview, how their examples that they gave demonstrate your skills and attributes. And you can do like a table for this if you want. You can do, like you can create your own numerical rating or something like that. And if you have somebody with you, that's great, so that you have more than one person evaluating this potential candidate. And then from there, you tell them later, we're going to get back to you. Obviously, you give them a time frame and you stick to that time frame, so that you start building that trust, right? If they come back to work with you, then you're already committing to your word. So that's behavioral interviewing. There's also assignment-based interviewing. Same thing, it's 5 steps. So the first step, we're going to identify a task or project that is representative of the work that the candidate will be doing in that role, right? So these not skills and attributes, it's going to be the task. So it's assignment-based interviewing. And the second step, you're going to develop an assignment or test based on that task or project. I listened recently to a podcast where they were mentioning about this, right? About they were hiring people for I think it was for a factory, and then they had them put all these pins in a box in certain period of time, and all these particular tasks. And they eventually hired this one set of people, but eventually they went back to the ones that they didn't hire, and they found actually some other characteristics that were even better from the ones that they didn't hire, that they should have taken into consideration. Very, very curious episode that I heard too. And then they went ahead and they hired these other people, and they did even better than the first one. So we can be surprised at times by this task or project, but it's good that you're going to keep track, as you'll see, of these evaluations. Third step, you're going to give them the assignment, and then making sure that they complete it in the set time that you've set, right? The set time that you've chosen. The fourth step is that you're going to evaluate the candidates once they've completed the assignments, and you're going to look for the quality of work, creativity, problem-solving skills, and how well they follow the instructions, if it's important for your assignment-based for your task that you're hiring them for. And then the fifth one, you're going to discuss the assignment with the candidates during a follow-up interview. And then you're going to ask them to explain the thought process, why they made the decisions they made, and any challenges they encountered. And that's going to help you not only for hiring that person, but also to improve your process that you have in your service or product. So those are 2 ways of acquiring people, of interviewing them for your work. The number of people that you will have to interview for getting the right person will vary from, depending on the role, the industry, whatever it is that you're doing, the job market, which right now has been quite challenging, and the recruitment process that you have, including your marketing, how you're marketing your positions. However, there's a common rule of thumb is that you should aim to interview at least 4 to 6 candidates for each role to ensure a good selection. And actually, there's a book that talks about even interviewing way more people than that. So in general, you should just be ready for not hiring right away. As I say, don't hire when your pants are on fire. Even though you might need somebody like right now, just don't hire because you must hire somebody, or hire because you're going to be the right person for that position. So very important. So our third question is going to be, how do we foster resilience in our teams? How do you foster resilience in your team? And what is resilience? Well, you know what? Very important quality. Is crucial for dealing with what happens in life, which is change. And resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. So we're going to have challenges. We're going to have setbacks, and they're going to come. Doesn't matter. They're going to come with running a startup or when you're just, in a regular business, but we're definitely going to have that. And if you can foster resilience in your team, you're going to be able to deal with these challenges successfully. So I'm going to give you some tips to do that. The first one, and I am very supportive of this, which is promoting a positive attitude, not unrealistic, being positive. So whenever we have a challenge, we look at the challenge and we look at the opportunities for growth and learn. They're going to be threats, but we should look at them in not how hard they are. It's like, how are we going to make success out of this situation? I do have a background as an anesthesiologist, and as an anesthesiologist, you have plan A, B, C, D, and like that person must not die under your care if you're successful at having planned for it and having acquired the knowledge, having acquired the tools and everything that you need. So if you're all like frazzled, you cannot be a great anesthesiologist, right? Like you have to be focused and you have to be positive and looking for opportunities of windows for improvement of that patient. The same way in this business, right? In the business that you have. So having a positive attitude will help you. So it will help them if you're positive about it, not unrealistic, but with clear expectations. It will help them bounce back quicker and approaching the challenges with a problem-solving mindset rather than, oh my goodness, dreading mindset. That's my first way of fostering resilience in your team. The other way that you can do is providing support and resources. Obviously, right? They will need resources and support when they're facing a challenge. That can be like training, development opportunities. You can always offer constructive feedback and recognize them and reward them for the efforts and achievements. Right now, for example, we have a new front office in our clinic, new front office personnel, and we've been training them. And when they're doing a call, I'm sitting there with them as much as I can, going through our algorithms, through our scripts, through everything, and then making sure that I'm available for them. And if they don't know something and I don't know something, we look for the resources together, and we look for videos and other ways of educating ourselves so that they can feel supported. The other thing, as I said, open communication that will work, to build trust. It will also work to foster resilience in your team and leading by example. One thing that is very important is fostering a sense of purpose. And this comes from positive psychology, right? We're talking about positive attitude, positive psychology. And if we look at the elements of happiness in general, they will include positive emotions, engaging in fulfilling activities, relationships, meaning and purpose, and accomplishments, right? And if you transfer this to the workplace, we would like to have job satisfaction and work-life balance. We would like to especially have a sense of purpose and positive relationship with your colleagues. And all those will contribute to happiness for both employers and employees. So it will help you fostering that sense of purpose that will help you foster the resilience in your team. I have to say that I have seen the opposite in some other teams where specifically told not to look for friends at work. And you know what? You might not want to look for friends at work, but you want to have positive relationships where you don't feel threatened or looked or being spied on, looking for a way, when are you going to fail in X or Y way? And that's not a good way of working. If you give people this, if you foster the sense of purpose, they're going to be, you're going to foster their resilience in the team, and they're going to be there for you and your clients and your patients when you need them. So that's to me, it's always been very important. I call it like part of this is what I call the Monsters Inc. philosophy. And if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to spoil it right now. So you might want to skip through like 10 seconds of this. But basically in the, maybe 15 seconds. So in the Monsters Inc. movie, at the beginning, they gain energy by scaring people. The kids, they scare them. And then they find out that making them happier gives them more energy. And that's what you should bring to work: more energy, better energy, and that positive attitude. I know that not always we have time, especially, with a startup, we don't always have times to get them to be responsive to any challenges. So there's going to be different techniques that you can use. One of them is setting clear expectations from the beginning, making sure that they're clear in terms of their roles and responsibilities and performance. and helping making sure if you have those, then you can prevent misunderstandings and make it easier for them. The other thing that you can do is using efficient communication tools, and you can do those tools in our company, like in the ways that you do through the email, through the internal communications. All those can help you, if you give specific now technological tools that will help you coordinating tasks and projects in an easier way. The other thing, there's this concept of the agile methodology, and I'm not the one who has really implemented or talked much about this because I really didn't have the experience, but I hired a manager, a wonderful one who has great experience with this type of methodology. And in this methodology, what happens is like a series of 5 steps, and it's circle, like one leads to another, and then it's like it keeps going and keeps helping the responsiveness and efficiency in the team. And they involve regular check-ins and updates, which can help to keep everyone in track through adjustments and then adjust as needed. So agile methodology is going to be something that you can use as a tool to make sure that from the beginning, even though you're busy as a startup, or if you're busy running the practice, that it will help you still create that, foster that sense of resilience for your team. Okay, moving on. We have just a couple more questions to answer. So we've answered 3 questions. Let's answer this 4th question, which is, how do you ensure that your team is cohesive and works well together? Why would one want that, right? We don't want to mess. We want things like to flow. So for that patient or client experience, everything flows well. And the way to ensure that is like your team is really working well and cohesive. So the team needs to feel that they're working together, that there's some camaraderie between the team, and they should be encouraged to have collaboration and teamwork. We should not have them compete and cause conflict. You can have some friendly competition or some goals. For example, if you want to meet certain goals for the quarter or for the month or for the week, and you want them to encourage them to do that, you might want to give them some financial incentives if that's appropriate in that case, for example, or time incentives, and then they can like compete with, within themselves. Oh, I want to achieve this, but it's not against the other. Who gets there gets quicker and gets more. No, we should not do it in that way. We should, whoever achieves this, then they get that regardless of how many people achieve that, for example. We should ensure that everybody understands their roles and responsibilities and how they can contribute to the team's overall goals, right? So if these are your duties, we would love for you to stay there, keep, in your duties. If you can help somebody else doing other things, then you could help them, but at a minimum, you should be doing what you're supposed to do, right? And that setting clear expectations and goals are very important from the beginning. Also, having regular team building activities will help, making sure that everybody comes and they communicate with each other. It's going to be very helpful as well. There has been a lot written by Simon Sinek in terms of ways to deal with teams. And 3 things that he has talked about are starting with the why, right? So before dividing into tasks and projects, make sure that everybody understands the why behind what they're doing, because that shared understanding and purpose will also foster their cohesiveness, their teamwork. As we talked about earlier, like fostering that culture of trust is going to be very important, because if we are transparent and reliable, and we show faith in our team's abilities, they're going to be also wanting to work together. Encouraging collaboration, if everybody's ideas are valued and collaboration is the norm, they're going to help us succeed. They're going to help us come better. And we might not do those exact things that they have suggested right away, but it might be some things that we can integrate to what we're doing, or that we can say, you know what, that let's put that in the horizon, and then we follow on those plans for the future, and then we make them part of our decision. So that was how can you make your team cohesive and working well together. Then our fifth question to answer today is like, how do we lead our teams effectively? How do you lead your team effectively yourself? And effective team is about inspiring and motivating our team to achieve their best. I have to tell you that personally, I've been through my challenges in this area. And I have to confess, here's my sensibility, right? I've had to go ahead and study, because I've been successful at inspiring and motivating different teams. And I've been really not successful, or not that successful, at inspiring other teams in some other times. One of the things that I didn't tell you is like, a team is different depending on the amount and people that are there and who's there, right? Like if you have your regular team and you add or change somebody, that team is a different team. Doesn't matter that they were there from before. If you have suppose that we have 5 people in a team, whatever it is, and then one of them is not with us anymore, then obviously it's a new team. And as a new team, there's some considerations. And it might be that I communicate with people individually outside of that team in a certain way, but we're within the team, they might need a different type of communication from me. And expressing my vision, my direction, and empowering them hasn't been always successful. So I've had to go out and study more about leadership. That's something that John C. Maxwell talks about a lot, because he's one of the big examples of leadership. And he would say that it didn't matter. It was 40 years of him doing leadership talks to the world. He would still learn some more. So that's a work in process for me, in progress for me. And I still have tons to learn. I love my teams, but depending on the situation, I really have had to adjust myself. So strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills, all those are things that I've had to really sharpen to be able to communicate with team. And I have tons of work to do still. So I'm glad that I'm able to recognize it and I'm able to work with it. And I'm glad that my team has been patient and has stuck with me. And it's something that as leaders, we really want to lead them effectively and understand that we might have to make adjustments. So it's not only about having our vision, it's also communicating that to our team, but also in a way that we can persuade them to come to us and understand their emotions, their motivations. And when you have more people, the more that you have, the more complicated that gets. So you really have to work on building those strong and positive relationship with them. We need to be adaptable, as I say, like we have to learn and be flexible. And the leadership style will change depending where we are. So we cannot be the same type of leader everywhere, right? Like, for example, suppose that as a physician, you're giving orders all day long at work, and then you go home. Maybe giving the orders in the same way is not going to be as well received. I have to tell you by experience that has been my case. We have to relax and sit down, and it's a different way because, for example, if you have a child at home, and that's a different team, it's your family team, they might be wanting to lead, right? Either through crying because of their age and level of maturity, or because there's something that's really important for them that you should really pay attention to. Whatever it is, you really have to, that's to explain to you at an extreme of how you should be able to be open and flexible to adapt your leadership styles. And talking about John C. Maxwell, there were 3 examples that he focused on in terms of how to lead your team effectively. Once again, leading by example, setting the tone for the rest of the team, showing them their values, your attitudes, your behavior, things that I expect from them that I should show myself when working with them. The other thing is investing in our team. One of the things that we do for our teams with the growth and development, we teach them about mindset. We have added mindset training to our employees' training. If they grow with us, once again, in terms of the sense of purpose, they're going to be happier. And yes, you know what? They might go, they might leave. They might say, you know what? I've outgrown this practice or this clinic, or I've outgrown this service or manufacturing or marketing of this product. But as long as you're teaching them, you know that you have a better chance at keeping them than they leaving you because you never care for them. So investing in your team is going to be very important. And once again, communicating effectively. Clear, open, honest communication is going to be the key to effective leadership. So guys, I hope that you've learned some about how to build your teams. To us, it's been a pleasure creating teams for all these years, and we expect to create many more teams and communicate with them and have them be a wonderful teams and express that they've had wonderful experiences while being with us. And I hope that you learn some of that as well for your teams. So have a great day, and we'll see you at the next podcast. See you then. And that was it for today. I hope that you learned some about building your teams. You can reach us at our website, maxsalary.com, MAXALLURE, where we talk to you about our Max Salary Mastermind, which is a personal and professional development program for physicians who want to learn about entrepreneurship. Please subscribe to our podcast, give us 5 stars, share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Please remember that Design is not providing specific financial, medical, or career advice. Our only intent is to stimulate your appetite for growth by sharing our experience and those of our speakers, coaches, and guests. Your personal growth and success will be unique to your circumstances and your hard work. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next week.